Hey guys, before we get into this episode, if you're watching, I apologize. This one's a little bit late. Normally I like to release these on a Friday afternoon, but based on work schedules and me being a little bit under the weather, I was a little bit late on putting this one out, but I do still want to keep to that every other week routine. So here it is, your video for this week. So enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back. Throwing Wrenches Garage, I'm Tom again. And it's cold again. It's cold still. It's cold forever. It's never getting warm. That's it. We are never going to see the sun or the warmth again. We probably will. But right now that's the way I feel. So it's warmed up to about 0 degrees outside. Honestly, some days it's going to feel like we're never going to get to drive the car again, but we know we are. The spring is going to come. There's no way to avoid that. Eventually it is going to be here, and then I'm going to want to drive this car around. Currently, I can't do that unless I want to grab a couple of milk crates and throw it in the back because the seats aren't there. So we are today going to finally get these seats finished. I took you through the last video where we threw the carpet in after the sound deadening, and I managed to strip down those seats. Well, yesterday I did something that I don't always do for these videos. It made me feel almost professional, somewhat Christopher Nolan-like. I prepared. So what I did was I actually went through and did the passenger side seat from soup to nuts. I took the whole thing in and completely did it over. That is all set, ready to go in the car. It's all assembled and put together. We'll show you that afterwards. But the reason that I did that is I wanted to be able to do a quicker video on this thing and showing you how this thing goes together. I didn't really want to fumble around with this thing with you guys. I wanted to make it a little smoother. So that's why. So let me take you around these seats, the frames, what we got going on now, and what we're going to be doing to them. All right, so we have these sitting on the bench right now. And I sprayed these things. We hit them with a rust converter first, and then I just hit them with one of my favorite paints, which is that Alumablast paint. Pretty much whenever I'm going to spray something to just look like bare metal, I use that Alumablast. Now you can see that these things are not perfect. I did not bother to scrub these things down or blast them, so there's still some fibers that are stuck here and stuff. I don't care. This was really just about getting this thing sort of cleaned up and solid enough that I could feel good about upholstering it, because again, we're just going to cover this thing up. The one thing I did do a little bit differently is I did blast these armatures with black. Again, I didn't worry about masking this stuff off because, you know, seats, it's not even going to be seen again. But these armatures do get seen. So these pieces are going to be largely anyway exposed, at least the outside edges. So I wanted those to get painted black so you don't really see those once the seat is flipped forward. So I told you guys about them last time, and I linked to it in the video. I'll link to it again now, but these seat cushion kits and upholstery kits came from a company called Legendary Auto Industries. They do not sponsor me. I paid full, big on, punch me in the neck retail for these things. I do believe it was worth it, but they were not free. No one granted these to me. But the reason I tell you that is because these are somewhat special seats because they're rally seats. So they have the extra bolsters on the sides, which the factory seats wouldn't have had. I am not going to go through the painstaking how-to of this today with you guys. And the reason that I'm not is because Legendary Auto Interiors has a whole YouTube page dedicated to all their instructional videos of how to install their seats. They've got 3 videos on how to do the 68 through 72 A-body GM cars. They're all listed under, for the rally seats, they're listed under a 69 Chevelle. Just watch those. There's 3 videos. One of them is on how to prep the cushions, so how to spray foam or spray adhesive the muslin to the foams. The next one is on how to prep the frames and get the foams added, and then the last one finally is how to actually put the upholstery on. Watch all 3 of those videos. I think it's maybe a total of a half an hour worth of videos. That's what I did. They are way better than what I'm going to be able to take you through. So watch those for the instructional how-to if you're going to do this on yourselves. I'm just going to give you sort of the general, like, this is what happens when you upholster seats. And you'll see that. All right, so we've got these springs all exposed. The first thing we're doing, we've got a piece of burlap. They sent us a bunch in the kit. This is all just pre-cut. We are going to hog ring it. And these hog rings basically look like giant staples. Let me show you one of these. If you haven't used them before, if you haven't been in the trade of doing upholstery, you might not have seen a hog ring before. This is what they look like before you use them. And then what we're doing is we're putting them inside a set of hog ring pliers. They sort of trap right in there. And the next thing we're doing here is we are just going to fasten them around our burlap. So these things are sharp like staples. So the benefit is you can just kind of stab them through this burlap and ring them closed. So the idea that we're going for here is to just fasten this burlap to the springs. This is really just kind of to unify it and to make sure that the springs aren't exposed to the foam. And so the springs aren't really jabbing at the foam. You do want to make sure when you use hog rings that you are putting them on sort of down and in, so that when these things wrap around themselves, the spikes don't come back up through the seat. And we're going to try to pull this fairly tight. Doesn't have to be taut, but we don't want it to be loose. And we don't have to put a ton of these in. There's going to be a lot more pieces that are going to go in later. A lot more hog rings, holding a lot more things down. So you don't have to go nuts here. In fact, I wouldn't go nuts here, but just get enough in to hold this in place. Front and back first, and then head on to the sides. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a foam strip. That's this stuff. It's like a felt strip, really. But this is going to go and wrap around the edge. We want this to sort of completely surround this metal frame. This is to keep the metal frame from tearing up our foam once that's on there. And again, be super careful with the staples because you don't want them to show up pointy side up at a later date. Now, what we're told to do is measure for center on the seat. So I've got a Sharpie here, or Sharpie-ish, like a marker. And we're going to try to capture the distance between left and right here. All right, so we found our center, or roughly our center. And now what we're going to do is come in and measure 7 inches left, 7 inches right of that line. Because the seam where the flat of our seat transitions into the bolster is 14 inches wide, which is apparently how wide my butt is. How wide everyone's butt is, I guess. Since this isn't a custom-made seat, they're making some assumptions here, I guess. All right, so now we have our 2 lines. That's for our listing wire. And this is my listing wire. You can see it's already gone haywire on me. We actually had quite a bit more of it, about twice as much of it, to start this project, and it came in a big coil. It wants to be straight, so it was actually pretty tough to work with. So what we're going to do is we're going to anchor this down with the hog rings to this seat frame. Here's why this stuff is important. This stuff is going to anchor to the seat frame and give us sort of a bone straight rail to anchor to. There's going to be another piece of this that goes into the upholstery that tucks through the cushion, and we're going to hog ring that piece of wire to this piece of wire that we get in here. Those two pieces together are going to work to hold down the upholstery into that sort of tuck piece of like a tuck and roll upholstery. So it's going to be the nice clean part that pulls that upholstery down and makes that nice crease. So this is important. If we don't do this right, if we don't secure this with the right amount of hog rings, if it's not in solid, if it's not in the right place, we have no chance of the upholstery looking good. So kind of important to get this one right. Pro tip, when I first started doing this, I tried pre-cutting the wire. Absolute nightmare. And as it turns out, not at all worth it. So now what I've been doing is just putting in that first little return bend, that first L bend that you have to put in. I get that anchored where it needs to be. And then I just move on to the rest of my pieces. So here I'm just going to grab my middle. That's grabbed. And now I'm going to measure out where I need to cut this to end it. I'm using these are like mini bolt cutters really. I'm going to measure this out, sort of, and then use my pliers to make this return bend. So this return bend up front needs to go underneath this foam, this felt, so it doesn't stab anything. But that's it. It's much easier to work with it that way. I'm sort of letting the hog rings do the straightening for me. Now what they recommend is a total of 7 hog rings in this piece. So they want 5 in the straight part of the hog ring and then 2 at each L bend. So realistically, that means I got to put 2 more into this piece here. All right, so this is what we're looking like when we're ready to rock and roll. So now we're done here putting the burlap on, putting our protective coat on, and putting the paper coated listing wire on. Next up is the foams. Well, sorry if there's an annoying hiss in the background, but I had to turn the heater back on. It's freezing down here. All right, so we're on to our foams. So these have sort of a return on the bottom of them. So we're gonna make sure, darn sure, that that fits right. We want that sitting around the frame. We don't want that caught up or hung up. And if we're doing this right, there's also a seam here that we've cut through. It's intended to be cut through. That's what the instructions say. So I did cut through them. Best to use that with like a carving knife, you know, one of those electric ones. If you have those, I don't. So I just used a sharp utility knife and just made sure it was sharp. Now we're going to anchor this with the muslin to the frame. And I spray adhesived the muslin to the spray foam yesterday, so it's pretty well set on here. There we go, all muslined in place. Here we go, guys. Bottom's ready. So this is now ready for us to be able to put upholstery on. So we're gonna put it off to the side. Like the song says, second verse, same as the first. So this is our seat back. This is our burlap that I've already pre-cut. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna get this thing anchored on here with some hog rings pulled tight. Now, the thing that's different about the back from the seat bottom, well, that was weird, is that the back does not take that foam or felt wrap around the edge. Doesn't need it. Now we're good on here. Time to fit our foams to this now. All right, so now both of these seats are ready for upholstery. So I guess we might as well get started on that. So the next big step is to apply these upholstery covers to our seats. So whether it's the bottom seat or the back seat, the very first step in that is getting one of these paper coated listing wires inserted in the bottom of this inside out turned piece. Right? These are the pieces that are going to attach to our listing wires that we already attached to the seat itself, and they're going to go in through these cushions. This is the stuff that's going to anchor this tucked in portion of the upholstery to the whole seat. That's the key. That's the linchpin. We're going to start there. Once we get that anchored, then we can move out. Now, I don't even know how many times they said it. I lost count. But the guys in the video from Legendary Auto Interiors were very distinct and particular about there being 5 hog rings in the listing wires. 5 hog rings in the listing wires when you anchor them to the seats. 5 hog rings in the listing wires when you're anchoring the listing wires to each other from the upholstery to that one that you've mounted in the seat. I don't know much about upholstery. Those guys know a ton about upholstery. I'm going to trust them. I'm not sure why 5 is the magic answer. I'm not sure why it's not 6 or 4, but I'm going to trust them on 5. I'm using 5. So do what you want to do, but that's me. So from here, I'm going to switch over to the goofy head cam so you can hopefully see a little bit more what I'm doing. Important when you cut this listing wire, that's this little guy that you're seeing in here, that it is no longer than the pocket that it sits in. A little bit, tiny bit shorter is fine, but no longer. And you can see that this piece is the same length, roughly, just a tiny bit shorter as the slot that we have in our foam. So that's on purpose too. My task with this thing has really been to try to get the center one installed. If I can get the center one in, then I can get the ends. So we're going to sort of push this cushion apart, get this thing lined up as much as we can, and get into the center. And then manhandle. All right, that's it. Center one's in. So now we can go to the end ones and be fine. Cool. There we go. One side done. Lather, rinse, repeat. All right. Those are done. Yowza. All right, now, let me make sure the rest of this is all turned inside out here, because we've got more listing wires to insert. So there's 2 more pieces here to run. Oh. So now that we have these bolsters sort of tucked in with these listing wires all snapped in place, now we've got these other listing wires slid into these 2 pockets. I think we got just about all the listing wires we need. I gotta throw one more in here. Now we're ready to start stretching this thing around. So now it's time to turn this thing sort of right side out again, and we're gonna do that carefully and with a lot of force. You ever meet a guy who does upholstery for a living? They do not have weak handshakes. And I found out why. This was a pain in the neck. Trying to stretch this vinyl over around this foam, whew, it's a workout. And it's a bit of a wrestling match. So enjoy the fact that you got to fast forward through this. I had to do it in real time, and man, it's a tiring exercise, but it's worth it when it's done. Whew. I gotta admit it, I don't like the way this one is going. So we're gonna have to sort of manhandle this back into its place a little. So to a certain extent, I sort of know where these things are supposed to anchor now, and I'm kind of forcing it to go there. Well, that's not perfect, but how much of what I do is perfect? Clearly not this. There is a little bit of wrinkling here. I think that's probably going to break in a little, to a degree. Part of it's because it is cold in here, so this stuff does not want to relax. So hopefully some of that will relax later and come out of there. We'll see, but for now, it's good. I mean, it's well secured in place and it's well lined up. We just got some wrinkles in here that I wish I didn't have, but on to tightening up the rest. These last steps here are a little finicky. These are mostly about finishing more than anything else, so kind of want to be a little bit more deliberate and delicate here, if you can be. Because this is the part of your upholstery that's kind of sort of show. You'll be visible on this from underneath the seat. But the intention is for this to just be cleaned up and not get in the way of the seat tracks. I never took my seat tracks off, so it's making it very easy for me to see if it would interfere with the seat tracks, but if you've taken your seat tracks off, you'll need to double check to make sure they're clear. Clean and breezy. And then we'll leave this stuff for later, but I gotta get the fronts here. There we go. Pretty good looking seat. All right. Now we're done with the bottoms. We'll pull this off to the side. Time to do the last back. Now, for the most part, putting this back on, it's not fundamentally different than putting the bottom on. We still have to start with these bolster pieces first, these listing wire pieces, and get them anchored. Get them in place first, and then we wrap. And we wrap from the narrowest edge of the seat to the widest edge of the seat. and then we go top to bottom. It's the same drill, so more of the same. Have fun watching that. All right, we are almost, but not quite, done with hog rig hell, and now it's time to get these seats together and in place. So for that first, I'm going to grab the hardware that I need to be able to attach these seat backs. So the first thing that I noticed when trying to put these things back together is I did not note how these little things, these guys, were oriented when they came off. And these turn out to be important, and it took me putting the seats together to realize why. These are the side plates that go onto the seat bottoms, left and right. They have a little hook in the back that these things hook into. So you need to make sure that these are in the right place in order for this to work. I found out the wrong way because 50-50 chance, I got it wrong. Now in a one-person operation like I got going on here, I am just going to try to get these brackets lined up as best I can in the sort of folded down position here, and we'll get this going. Let me see if I can get my headgear back. All right, not a ton of light in here, but we did just test these things out to make sure they were fitting in the right way. They are. So this first hole is elongated. That means that's the one we're going for first. That's our just get it close hole. So that's what we're going to use to get this registered in place. That's going to make the other three holes easier once we get this first one in place. Yeah, we're started. This is an oddball screw. This is the one that's different from the other screws on the seats. So I'm using it here on one of these shorter, or one of these lower holes, because I think it's going to make it easier for us. All right, and now we'll zip these home. Easy peasy. All right, seats technically together. It's in one piece now. But we need to do more. See, in the back, in the bottom, there are some holes that we're going to need to punch out in order to anchor the slider that keeps this thing from going all the way forward, and the little bumpers that keep this thing from damaging the upholstery when it comes back. So I'll put the camera on again and show you how I'm going to do that. Basically, I know where those holes are based on the previous work that we did, so we're just going to sort of discover them and then punch through there with an awl, or what I'm making use for as an awl, and then we'll find it with the screws. So for this one, it's pretty easy enough, right? We know that this one is going to come into play around here. So left to right, that should get us. I'll make a poke hole here. And now what I just need to do is find our threaded hole in here somewhere. There it is. There we go. That's in. Now, interesting story. about these little bumpers. They are apparently materialless unobtainium right now. Ain't nobody got them. I have gone to all my standard places to look for these online and have not been able to find them. They're not terribly expensive parts. It's not like this is, you know, a break the bank part or anything, but you kind of need these parts and not anything else. So they're specific to these cars, and other things won't do or won't do properly, and mine are just worn out. So I'd like to get them replaced, but it looks like I'm going to have to wait on that for maybe a while until those things start to come back in stock somehow. Now it's time for more cosmetics. So I went ahead and sprung for chrome mylar. Yeah, this stuff is actually pre-cut. This is the piping that goes along the edges of the seat trim. Interestingly, this material, if you have an SS Chevelle, would not have been on your seats, or at least not on all of them. But if you had a Malibu, it would have been. The Malibu sort of had more blinged out chrome trim. So because my car is originally a Malibu and I like a lot of the Malibu trim, I'm keeping it. The old stuff that was on there just completely fell off, so we're going to put some new stuff on. This is a pain. All right, well, the chrome is on all of my pieces, but I'm not going to lie, of all the stuff that I've done here in the cold garage, this is the worst. This Mylar stuff, when it's cold, absolutely miserable, man. So I hate it. My hands are sore. Not one bit of that was enjoyable. So now let's get this backer on this seat. So you can see we got these lips here with those tabs. We have receiving slots here, so we're just going to run that over it. And they're caught. Pretty simple. We don't have to bottom it out or anything. We just have to get them caught. And then we're going to worry about the screws down here. All right, more than a little bit of force needed, but we got them in. Now we broke that escutcheon plate, that little button, taking this thing out last time. We got a new one. It even comes with a little metal bracket on the back. It says top, so we're just going to punch this in place. There we go. You hear it snap, and it works. Wonderful. All right, so the back is on. Now let's get the sides on. Now the sides, at least on the other seat, were a little bit less punishing. So we just need to hook this around there first. Now we'll come around and do our front screws. See how we line up. This is not going to line up perfect. We're going to have to muscle it. So what we're doing is we're using this awl to get ourselves into place for this other screw hole. This is my secret weapon here. By using this to align that hole, I can hopefully get my screw started in the hole right next to it. And now the other one should work. All right, front two in place. Let's go for the back one. Well, I screwed up with the camera again, and I'm missing some footage. So you completely missed me putting in this first attachment for the headrest. So I'm going to talk you through what I did there real quick, and then we'll come out of this. All I had to do for this is similar to finding those holes on the back of the seat. I just matched up that little plate where I knew my holes would go. I could actually feel the big hole for the headrest in there. Punched that hole just to make sure that that was what it was. Put the plate over it, found the two side holes, poked them through, and then ran my screws through. It's a pretty simple operation, and then I just went through with a nice sharp razor knife once I got these things installed and just cut that hole out of the center of it to make sure that there was plenty of room to fit my headrest down. So that's that piece. Then we had to put on the escutcheons after that. And these screws need a little assistance going in because they are poking through the vinyl, but they are actually screwing into this little metal base plate. The only real job these things are doing, other than looking kind of pretty, is stopping the headrest from sliding down all the way into the seat if you want it propped up. Now, I bought these brand new because the old ones were trashed, but apparently I am bad at math because I only ordered 2, not 4. So the passenger side seat got the old ones and I just hit them with some chrome spray paint. It is not the same thing. You will not be faked out thinking they are chrome, but they look cleaner. They look better than they did. And until I get around to ordering these again, they'll have to do. So these headrests, you might remember in the last video, were quite dark. They actually matched the older version of the upholstery a lot better, very dark green. These new upholstery, these new covers, are a lighter green. I actually like them a lot better, but they wouldn't have matched these headrests. So I decided to spray the headrests with the fabric paint or fabric dye that I have that does match this upholstery. So once I get this tape off, I'll show you. All right, so here we go. Nice light green. There we go. Now, it's not a perfect match, and I know actually, at least on the little tiny screen on camera, it looks like a worse match than it does in front of my eyes. The camera often does that, right? Throws things off, but in person, it's real close. I think what's missing is the sort of metallic or reflective quality of the vinyl is not quite there in the dye. But the tone of the paint is close, and it's not the kind of thing that I would complain about. Let's show you the old stuff. This was the color we were dealing with. That, I think even on camera, you can see how bad that shows up. That's a lot darker, and that's what the color of this headrest was, and we fixed that. This is much more better. Well, there it is, 2 seats. All done, wrapped up in a bow, everything on them, all the plates, all the covers, all the chrome, all the bells, the whistles. The only thing I don't have is the little emblem, the little Malibu emblem that goes in the center. That's not going back on. I'm not putting that on there. I could. I never really cared for it. Didn't love it. And it would be a pain to put on now. So we're not doing that. So that gets left off. These are as complete as I'm going to make them. You know, if I was bringing them to a professional shop, I wish they would probably be a little bit more taut, a little bit less wrinkles, but honestly, not a professional shop. So this, to me, is pretty good. And we'll see if some of that stuff doesn't work out once this thing's been in the heat and it's had a chance to sort of stretch and acclimate. Right now, it's real cold, so there's no way it's stretching. But they do me no good here, so let's get these in the car. So before I trotted you guys out here, I managed to do a couple things. One was to square away the carpet a little bit more. 2 was to get sick, came down with a cold. 3 was to get the console and shifter back in place and the interior seat bolts, the ones that are actually next to the console. That's all set now, and it looks pretty good. This carpet still has to relax some. There's still a little bit of massaging that I want to do with it ultimately to get it to really, really sit perfectly in place. But for now, we're good. And we burned all the holes through it with a hot socket. You guys have seen me do that before on Declan's car for all of the bolt holes. So we're all ready to go. And now it's time to put the seat in. There ain't no elegant way to do this, guys. This is just brute force time. Well, here we are, all done, safe and sound. The interior, for now, finished. There's still a bunch of random stuff to do. I don't know that this interior will ever be completely done, but my front seats, the ones that I sit in, the one that my passenger sits in, they're done now. That's important to me. And honestly, I notice a difference right away. First of all, brand new foams, I'm sitting up higher. I definitely feel more firmness. It's definitely sitting me up higher in the car. I've got more support, way more comfortable. They feel way more firm. But also, these bolsters are nice because they're sort of hugging me in the seat. So it's not like the flat, rounded seats where you feel yourself sort of sliding off of them to the left and to the right. This thing is really bolstered left and right, so it's really holding me in place. But they look like the normal seats. So it's a winner from me. Legendary Auto Interiors, if you're looking for new seats, take a look at their rally seats because they work well for me. Well, I hope you guys liked watching this project. This was a lot more than I expected to go into. I went into way more detail than I expected to with getting these things covered and installed, but you know, that's what I do. I get carried away. So now you've seen it, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, guys. That's it for the Chevelle for a little bit. Next time, we'll be working on the IROC. It's time to show that some love before the spring hits. So, until next time, keep on throwing wrenches.